My name is Ken. I'm 63 years old. I'm a father and a grandfather, which makes me even older. My introduction to sepsis was very curious. There weren't any wild swings or changes in the way I felt, the way my body moved. In fact, I felt quite normal. For about a week before everything really hit the fan for me, I was experiencing some dehydration, some issues with urination, a little bit of burning when I did urinate, but nothing that concerned me terribly. I have a habit of sometimes getting dehydrated, and so I just thought, well, I better start drinking a little bit more. It wasn't until the day that it really hit me that things turned badly in a real hurry. That is, within a period of just 15 minutes, I went from feeling really fine, pretty good, strong, to starting to shake a little bit, to the point where I couldn't operate the mouse on my laptop anymore. That I felt something desperately is wrong. I better wrap up my computer activities quickly and find some way to deal with this. And I had to get warm. That was my overwhelming idea. I need to get warm because I was freezing, shivering, freezing in the middle of July. So I went to my bedroom. I put all the blankets, Afghans, everything I could on my bed and climbed under the sheets. And I shivered violently for at least 2 hours. And I was just hoping and praying that it would stop, that I would get warm, that my body would start to stabilize. But as time went on, I realized this wasn't going to stop. My overwhelming thought was, if I don't get out of here, if I don't get out of bed, if I don't get medical attention, I'm going to die in this bed. And I even had visions of that. I realized this was a very desperate, life-threatening situation. That's when I decided I have to call an ambulance.
911, what's your emergency?
The paramedics were assessing me and I was telling them what I've been feeling. They both had a really serious look on their face. And they got me loaded into the ambulance, and that was when they first mentioned, it looks like sepsis. They weren't talking to me, they were talking to each other. Just the look in the eyes of the paramedics assessing my situation and discussing sepsis between themselves made me realize this was a very, very serious situation. When I arrived at the hospital, it was pretty quick and apparent from the looks on the doctors' faces that I was a very serious case. Talking about my history with the doctor and some of the issues with pain and some bleeding a week prior to the sepsis, the doctors were fairly certain that I had passed a small kidney stone, that had started the process of infection in my kidney, and that had progressed rapidly into infecting my bloodstream. You know, I have a history of kidney stones, so this was not my first rodeo. Most of the time I end up passing them just fine. Sometimes I've been taken to the hospital to have them removed. Prior to this event, my knowledge of sepsis was limited to what I had seen on medical TV shows. It never entered my mind that anything like a kidney stone could progress so quickly to the point of threatening my life. After numerous blood and urine tests, it was fairly quickly determined that E. coli bacteria was the source of this infection that had started in my kidneys and quickly moved into my bloodstream. My doctor told me that E. coli is something that's always in our system, somewhere. But our body's natural defenses usually fight it off pretty readily, and it's not an issue. In this case, my body had become pretty severely compromised from the kidney issue, and it just blew up in my bloodstream. So it took 4 days of treatment just to get my body stabilized and able to fight the infection on its own. And they were telling me that both my liver and kidney functions were skewed wildly on the extreme high and the extreme lows for kidney and liver function, which they said was a major concern for them because they didn't know how much damage was being done to my organs by the sepsis itself. Sepsis brought home to me my mortality. The fact that I had come so close to death and I had nearly ignored it to the point where I died was an extreme wake-up call for me. Biggest changes I've made because of all of this is being more hyper-aware of how my body feels, how it's working, what things don't feel right, especially hydration. Now, I always have a glass of water with me all day long. Hydration, hydration, hydration. I've never been so hyper-vigilant about my health in my life. You know, it's taken some enjoyment out of life. Now I make pretty regular forays to my primary doctor for blood tests because I've been told that I really need to keep a tab on my organ damage, specifically my kidneys, my liver not so much. It seems to have recovered over time. But the kidney damage is something that doesn't repair. It's a lifelong issue and something I'm always going to have to closely monitor. What I've learned from sepsis is that one, this can happen very rapidly. I wish I had been more prepared. I wish doctors had told me this could happen because it was not at all on my radar. Having kidney stones over 5 or 6, 7 years had just become a routine in my life. I really wish one doctor at least had said, these kidney stones are more serious than you're aware, so pay attention to the symptoms. I did not. Because of this experience with sepsis, I've realized that prevention, for me personally, is key going forward. If I don't want this to happen again, if I have any symptoms related to my kidneys, I need to get checked immediately to prevent this sort of life-threatening infection from ever happening again.